I want to introduce our guest of honor tonight. And you know, what I wanted tonight was somebody that could speak to you who knew the true cost of war. Somebody that had been there. And we found him. He's commanded at all levels in the operation of the division, platoon, company, battalion, regiment, and a division. And he really knows the true cost of combat. He was a battalion commander and a regimental commander in Iraq. And then he commanded 2nd Marine Division forward in Afghanistan. And he's seen some stuff. And I wanted him to talk with you. He's had an interesting non-FMF tour. He was an instructor at the infantry officer course when Colonel Starling went through it. So Colonel Starling knows him. Lieutenant General Louis Craparotta, I'd like you to welcome here to the podium, please.
So I have Starling stories that I can share later. So thank you, General Myatt. Thanks very much for inviting me here, and thanks for what you do for the Marines Memorial and what you do for this event. So General Myatt's a magnificent leader. He's a legend in the Marine Corps, and it's pretty obvious that his service hasn't stopped, and it's just an honor to spend some time with you. I'd also like to thank the Blue Star moms for all the effort. So I think General Myatt asked me to come here maybe like the 2 days after I took command at at 1 MEF, and I didn't commit, I don't think, right away, and then I did, and then, you know, I've seen the 60 Minutes video. I told him I had dinner with General and Mrs. Kelly in early January before he was confirmed as Secretary Kelly. I watched all the speeches, you know, and I have people, so I have people that help me. And you know, you think you're prepared to come up here, and then you come up here, and you see last night. You go to the memorial, and then, frankly, you're not sure. So I have some notes, and I have some thoughts, and I'm going to go through those. And I'll see how it comes out, but I will tell you one thing. It comes from the heart. So first, I want to say how grateful I am to have been invited here, because frankly, it's truly an honor for my wife and I to be here, humbled, to be in the presence of moms and dads and siblings. I will tell you, the last 24 hours, if it's been up and down, it's been, what, describe it in one word, it's been uplifting. And I thank you for your strength and, frankly, for your faith. And nobody understands the burden that you carry, the weight of having lost someone in service. But I think we all, every person in this country, should be grateful and understand that we remain free today because we have sons and daughters who are willing to commit to something bigger than themselves and do their duty to the end. So thank you. Thank you for raising those young men and women, those brave enough to raise their right hand, dedicate themselves to the service of our great nation during a time, as we all know, of inevitable conflict. And thanks for the strength to be here carrying on the legacy of those that you love, and further forging their spirit into the minds and the hearts of the many. So being here, frankly, over the past 2 days serves as a reminder to me of the heroes that I've been blessed to serve with. And I don't even think I could ever understand the grief of having lost someone in service, but I hope that your feelings are buttressed by great, great, unrelenting pride. And that somehow you can find comfort knowing that your loved one would not have wanted it any other way. They wouldn't have wished it was someone else. They were proudly and fiercely committed to selfless service that our nation, frankly, requires. So my service in the Marine Corps is guided by Marine Corps core values: honor, courage, and commitment. And every institution, every service has similar core values. They bond us together. They tie us together as a service. They forge a connection between us and the other services and those that have gone before us. And those that have gone before us and those that we've lost in service have laid a foundation. And if we wear a uniform today, we now have a responsibility to live up to their standard and to fulfill their expectations. And we strive to do that every day. And when someone like me thinks about those we lost in service, we think about not just keeping their memory alive, but ensuring that we live up to their expectations. And that as they watch over us today, that they can do so proudly. So this past weekend, I had the opportunity to spend some time with some veterans from Iwo Jima. Last Sunday, the 72nd anniversary of the landing on Iwo, significant battle in Marine Corps history, significant battle in the history of our nation. And when the famous photo of the flag raising on Mount Suribachi was published in our newspapers, 25 February 1945, that photo became a potent symbol of victory and hope for a country that had been at war at that point for nearly 4 years. That battle came at a cost: 5,931 Marines killed, more than 17,000 wounded. So I spent some time with 24 or 25 of these veterans who had participated in this battle. And they did something that's very common amongst veterans. They spoke of the buddies that they had lost. And they spoke about the commitment to those that they lost, and the fact that they wanted to ensure that they lived up to the expectations, and they lived their lives in a fashion that was worthy of those that were lost. You know, there aren't many of these veterans left. One of them is an example, a Navy veteran, and he had never been to the day to join the veterans for the lunch, and they had a symposium that day, and he stood up and he said, I was on, I think he said the Ticonderoga, but my ship transported Marines and landed Marines on Iwo Jima. 2 of those Marines participated in the flag raising. And I'm just here today because I want to know if anybody else was on my ship. Most of these men didn't know each other. They shared the experience of service. Most of the people in this room didn't know each other. But now you have a shared experience, a tragedy of having lost someone in service. But by coming together, like those Iwo Jima veterans did, you too are forging new bonds of remembrance and dedication to those that you've lost. And those that you've lost, every one of them has left behind a legacy. And just like I saw the Iwo veterans keeping their memories of their buddies alive 72 years later, in the last 24 hours, I've seen that those you lost are also alive in spirit, through all of you, through those they served with, and perhaps through several others who were privileged enough to know them. So 45 million have served in uniform. Over 1 million have died in defense of this country, and your loved one represents 1% of Americans. And unfortunately, a large percentage will never understand their commitment, nor will they seek the responsibility of protecting this nation. And while we can never repay the debt that we owe to you, or the debt that we owe to them, we are obligated not to forget their duty. So watching you all here yesterday and today, drawing strength from one another, as an active duty service member, I'll tell you, my responsibility is to keep their memory alive and to serve as your sons and daughters would have demanded. So as Americans, we find ourselves the forebearers of freedom, protectors across the globe. Not a new mission. Face an uncertain landscape, ever-evolving enemy, an enemy actually who hates our freedom and our very way of life. And now, more than ever, we need to stand strong. This is not a time to be quiet. And your loved ones understood that. What is sometimes forgotten as people in our country go about their daily business is the fact that we were attacked and the enemy has not been defeated. What is sometimes forgotten is the price being paid to remain the land of the free and the home of the brave. Your loved ones understood that their country was founded by sturdy citizens who willingly committed to freedom, to liberty, and to justice for all. So one of the most celebrated traditions in the Marine Corps is the Marine Corps birthday. 10 November 1775. We celebrated our 241st this past November. The birthday ball for us is, it's a celebration to share the bonds, being Marines, and to celebrate those who have gone before us. It's an opportunity to reflect on the history of our Corps. We go through this elaborate cake cutting. Some would call it perhaps a ritual. And during that ceremony, as part of that ceremony, the oldest Marine gets a piece of cake, the oldest Marine in the room. And he passes that cake to the youngest Marine, signifying the passing of experience and knowledge from one generation to another. And though ceremonial, that act is a reminder of how the old are connected to the new, the common framework, the past and the present come together. The birthday ball is also a time where we remember those we served with, and we recommit to living up to the legacy and the expectations of those we've lost. So tonight, as I thought about this, I couldn't help but reflect on friends and fellow Marines and service members that I've lost throughout my time in service. I didn't know any of the individuals that we honored and remembered these past 2 days, but I have known hundreds, if not thousands, who were like them. I've watched them, and I've watched them in garrison, I've watched them in training, I've seen them in combat. I have the funny stories. I've seen them in the difficult and the tragic times. I've watched them mourn a friend on a patrol base in combat, and then hours later strap on their gear and go off on another patrol. Selflessly serving, committed to keeping the people and our country safe so nobody else would have to. These are the very foundation that our nation was built on, citizen soldiers. Those that understood that our way of life is worth fighting for. Every member in the military went beyond realizing that our way of life was worth fighting for. They acted on that understanding. They all volunteered. They all stepped up. And some of them, I'm sure, surprised you. Others, perhaps, always destined to wear the uniform of a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Coast Guardsman. Perhaps in their mind thinking, if not me, then who? So how grateful should we be? How proud you must be. How honorable is it to make that commitment? How selfless an act. So we in this room, we should swell with pride. We should beam with joy. We should all feel blessed that we knew them and we loved them, because that's how they would want it. So let me close with a commitment that the memories of your loved ones will live on forever. It's in the Marine Corps. We have a motto, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. It means something to us. We take it very seriously. And among Marines, we yell that motto at each other in passing. We bark it out on PT fields. We whisper it in fighting holes. And again, these words have meaning. They're a connection that holds Marines together across states, nations, oceans, and seas. We remain Semper Fidelis, always faithful to those that have gone before us. So while I can never know the weight that you truly carry, because I haven't experienced it myself and would never pretend to understand, I can commit to being always faithful to the memories of your loved ones and the extended family that you all have created here. And again, I hope you swell with great pride, knowing that you raised, loved, and nurtured an individual who willingly committed to something much bigger than him or herself. They selflessly put their country first. They stepped forward. And although we can never repay them, we will and we must always remember them. It's been my honor to be here. God bless all of you, and Semper Fidelis.
Thank you, General. That was terrific.